4, 3, 2, 1, hit it.
Hello and welcome back to Pro Tour Nagoya. I'm Randy Buehler. I'm here with Brian David Marshall, and we just sat down with the players and talked to them as they were building their decks, and there's some interesting stuff going on this weekend. This is going to be fun to see how these things play out. We're going to start on the match that everybody's been talking about. It's Anton Jonsson versus Masahiro Kuroda. And wow, I went down to Masahiro Kuroda and I'm like, what do you think of your deck? And he's just like, look at 3 Sokuzen Bruisers. He drafted to beat Anton Jonsson. He's got triple Mountain Walkers in the Bruisers. He's got 4 Indomitable Wills. 4 Indomitable Wills. And he's just like, he looked at his opponent and he said, I see you're drafting red. I'm going to destroy your deck. It's like, I can't win the Pro Tour without winning the quarterfinals. So he drafted specifically to beat Anton Jonsson. Talked to Anton Jonsson, and he's like, I like my deck. I think my deck's better against the field, but it's not necessarily better in the quarterfinal matchup. So it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to play out.
On top of that,
a note for those of you out there on the internet, by the way, the card push tool that will be active for the quarterfinals, but you're going to need to refresh your browsers to get the new version of it up. So it's working. We didn't have any cards to push during the draft, so we'll have that up and running for the quarterfinals. Yeah, you were talking to those guys too, right? What was your take on those two?
Kuroda looks like he's in great shape for this match. He's facing a blue-red spirit deck.
Right.
And Kuroda has also, on top of the cards you already mentioned, he has 2 Kitsune Diviners in his main deck.
Oh, it's against a spirit deck, basically.
And he has 2 Kitsune Riftwalkers.
Yeah, Riftwalker.
He has Diviners and Riftwalkers.
Wow.
He has Spirit Tappers, protection from Spirit Arcane, so those are land creatures that block everything and live through the Earthshaker. He also has 3 Mothrider Samurais. The Indomitable Wills are going to be tremendous. He also has a Candle's Glow and a Blessed Breath.
Right. Now, what do you think of the idea of drafting to win the quarters versus drafting to win the whole Pro Tour?
Yeah, you have to get past your quarter round match.
So you like it? I'm in Anton Jansson's camp. I talked to him. He's just like, I don't care if I lose in the quarters and the semis. I want to win the Pro Tour. For him, it's all about the title.
You can't win the Pro Tour if you lose in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, but
someone should tell Anton that.
You're less likely to win the Pro Tour if you spend all your resources on that matchup. Right? I mean, Kuroda's chances of winning the Pro Tour go down because, Kuroda's chances go down because he drafted to beat Jonsson, don't they?
Anton's chances to win go down because Kuroda drafted to beat him.
It's a prisoner's dilemma, right? No, I totally agree. I think Jonsson will probably lose, but then Kuroda will probably lose to Frank Karsten. I mean, I think the guy who benefits the most is Frank Karsten because he's on the side of the bracket. Whoever comes out of this, like Anton Jansson's got a much better deck against Karsten than Kuroda does, but Jansson's going to lose to Kuroda.
Frank Karsten's in an excellent position right now to go from 0 to 60. The guy who best player who never won a top 8 to
never made a top 8.
Never made a top 8 to winning a Pro Tour.
Yeah, I could totally see it.
I think he's in terrific shape. His deck looks phenomenal.
Yeah, I talked to Karsten. I'm like, what do you think of your deck? And he's like, he was trying to be polite. He's got that sort of European, the Americans on the Pro Tour tend to be much more willing to brag about their decks, right? You talk to an American, and he's like, my deck's amazing, and it could be terrible. You talk to the Europeans, they never say their decks are good. Karsten was like, I like it, I guess.
Ask him about his 13th pick, Candle's Glow. He becomes a little less immodest.
So his deck is not only there were only 2 white drafters. It's such a good color here, but he's one of only 2 white drafters. So he's in great shape there, and he's got a nice matchup. He's playing against red with all the Candles Glow shenanigans.
He's got 2 Candles Glows. He does not have a Blessed Breath, which I thought he did in the draft. Although Blessed Breath actually had gone to Kuroda.
I will give Terry So some credit, though. Terry So looked at that matchup, and he's like, I need to be fast to win this. I have to go beat down. Like, he knows he can't deal with Karsten's got, like, double Moss Kami and a Kega. He's like, I can't deal with it. Karsten's fat creature, so I have to win quickly. And he built a very aggressive deck. It's all 2-drop, 3-drop, tops out at 4. So
I'm looking at a 6-drop Kami of Lunacy here in his deck.
If you look at the curve on the table, it's very slanted toward cheap and aggressive creatures because he figures he's got to win in the early game. He knows Karsten's got better late game spells, but he thinks he can win quickly. And he's like, he seemed reasonably confident. And I mean, I think he analyzed the matchup correctly, too. Karsten's deck is very good, but some of the power is in expensive spells, so So's going to try to curve him out. He's going to try to come out fast and beat Karsten before Karsten can get the machinery in place.
Well, he also has Thief of Hope, so if he gets out to an early start,
exactly,
and then Frank locks up the board,
he can win with Thief of Hope.
He can win. He can just win with Thief of Hope.
So that'll be interesting. Jarno Harkonnen versus Murray Evans. I think we underestimated Jarno Harkonnen while we were calling the Rochester draft. I think Harkonnen pieced together a much better deck than I know I, for one, realized.
Well, he ended up with 3 Hondens. He ended up
Right.
with the black Honden, the white Honden, and the green Honden.
Right.
Any combination of the two of those can be pretty devastating.
And he's got the mana fixing to justify it, right? He's got a green base with, is it double Elder, double Reach?
I believe it is double Elder, double Reach.
It might be triple of one of them, but I mean...
He's got 2 Kodama's Reach, and he has 2 Sakura Tribe-Elders.
Yeah, so he can get the 3 colors together, and now, the Matsu Tribe Decoy is going to be the talk of that match, though. He took Matsu Tribe Decoy over Moss Kami.
And over Kami of the Hunt.
And over Kami the Hunt. So he thinks that card's better. I mean, if he's right, well, then his deck must be amazing. Most other people would have had different cards in their deck than him, but
right. He also has 2. Both players have 2 Nizumi Cutthroats, which are their only black creature. Well, actually, we have Wicked Akubas in Murray's deck.
Right.
And the Long Forgotten Gohei.
I talked to the Mauler, and he's just like, that draft was crazy. He's still shaking his head. He doesn't understand it. He's like, he couldn't figure out what the people around him were doing. And he's like, I didn't know what to do. I mean, he's trying. He's like, he doesn't want black and whatever.
He thought he figured it out. He felt like the Japanese players were specifically teaming up to get him.
That was his theory. That the key pick was when Masashiro Kuroda took Sire of the Storm's first pick. The Mauler's like, that's my Sire of the Storms. Was it just a pure hate draft? And the more he thought about it, the Mauler's theory is that Kuroda took Sire of the Storms to try to get Murray Evans out of blue because Shu Kimura was on the other side of Kuroda in blue, and it would make his fellow Japanese players' deck much better if Kuroda could somehow force Murray out of blue. So that's pretty interesting. I mean, maybe Kuroda was trying to help his teammate out there. That's not crazy. I mean, definitely seen picks like that made over the years.
Speaking of Shu Kimura, I think Shu is the player most likely to come out of that bracket.
I have to agree. He's got double Ray, double Kodama's Might, right? So he's basically got a green-blue deck with a bunch of Arcane Spirit action, but then he's splashing for double Ray.
He's a double Ray. He's got 3 Sakura Tribe-Elders to find his 1 mountain.
Yeah.
Actually, he's got 2 mountains, and he also has a Pinecrest Ridge that he's running.
So Shu Kimura's deck looks tight. Vasilis Futuro's wound up with he's in decent shape, but I don't know if he can stack up to Kimura. Did you get a chance?
I did not get a chance to talk to Futuros.
Yeah, so he's got black green. He likes his chances, but
although I think our spotter had a pretty funny story about Vasily.
Yeah, no, he wasn't sure who he was playing in the first round. The players were all told very clearly you're playing the person across from them, but I think he's a little new to the Pro Tour, didn't actually understand who his opponent was, so I think that's not that big a deal. I don't think you're supposed to draft against your opponent, but I think you're supposed to just draft the best deck and try to win the Pro Tour. It's Pro Tour champion. I mean, the title is the most important thing for me, so.
We did determine that he did not actually hate draft the Kumano.
Oh, the Kumano, right.
He was intending to go into red, but he just didn't feel like the packs broke in such a way that he was able to pick up other red cards. Although, if he had stuck it out, he would have ended up with multiple Yamabushi's Flames. And that would have given him a green-red deck with Yamabushi's Flames and Kumano.
I talked to Anton, though, and he was like, my deck would be much better with Kumano. And the thing is, I think he knew that Futuros was thinking about moving into red. The problem is that the packs are about to shift directions, right? And Anton's going to be drafting before Futuros for the next 8 packs. So it's really hard to move into red right before it's going to switch directions, and because you're fighting the guy who's feeding you for the next 8 packs. And that's exactly what happened, right? He took the Kumano thinking, I'll just get into red, but he didn't realize how hard it is to get into red. He's about to get cut off completely, and he got cut off completely, so by the time the packs went to the third direction and he could cut Anton, he was out. He didn't have the red base he needed, and then when the Yamabushi Flames showed up, he had to just pass them to Anton. So Anton was looking at that Kumano and is like, this guy's going to try to move in, and it's not going to work. And it's almost...
That had to be very frustrating for Anton, just in terms of his experience and knowing he's got a much less experienced player there who is not going to see that interaction of the ebb and flow of the draft.
Yep.
So we looks like we're getting underway.
Yeah, we're just about ready to go here. We are... sounds like we'll be playing in 2 minutes. Sounds like we both like Kuroda to beat Jonsson, although Jonsson's deck is more likely to win the Pro Tour if he can get out of the quarters. Karsten over So seems like the pick, though Terry So did build the deck that could potentially beat Frank Karsten.
I'm pretty confident that Frank Karsten is going to win that
And then
match.
You've got Karsten through to the finals,
I've
right?
got Karsten through to the finals.
Karsten's your pick to win the Pro Tour?
Karsten is, right now, my pick to win the Pro Tour.
I think he's
if
hard
he
to
loses,
pick
it may
against.
change.
Thanks. Brilliant. Yeah, no, I think Karsten's in the best shape now, too. His teammates are talking to Jerome Remy. He's just really happy with Frank's deck. Let On the other side, so Harkonnen versus Murray Evans.
1.5.
Now that we've seen those decks,
I think I'm going to give the edge to Murray. Murray's got the
Edge
long
to Murray?
forgotten Gohei.
Okay.
He can block the cutthroats, while Yarno has no way to block his cutthroats. He has 3/3 Wicked Akabas.
yeah, when I talked to Murray, he was still shaking his head about the draft, but he's like, I can win my first round. Did not really like Harkonnen's deck. He's like, what does he got? He's got a couple of, he's got a couple of Hondens, but Murray's deck's very aggressive. He feels like he can win before any of the Honden shenanigans really get cranked up.
He doesn't feel he can beat Shu Kamara, though,
No.
if Shu advances past Vasily.
No, I think it's the Netherlands versus Japan in the finals. Shu Kamura versus Frank Karsten. That's my pick.
That's what I'm picking also.
All right.
I think that's a fitting the way the last year's gone. The Netherlands and Japan have been
Anybody out there on the internet,
two strongholds of Magic.
let us know what your picks are. I got the laptop. I'm watching the message board forums. I'm glad that the audio is back. So it sounds like everybody's got the audio and the video up working. The webcast is working well. And let me know what you think's going to win. I'll be reading. 30 seconds, and we'll be ready to play. It did look like Anton Jonsson took a mulligan, so I don't even know if he knows how much Kuroda drafted against him. It'll be interesting to see.
He didn't mention the Rift Walkers at all when we were talking.
Yeah,
so
no, the Riftwalkers, that's the kind of card that sneaks out, so.
I think that's going to be the big card in this matchup.
All right, so we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back momentarily with live coverage of the quarterfinals. So we'll be right there.
Unsplit and roll playback.
Hello and welcome to Pro Tour Nagoya. I'm Randy Bueller. I'm here with Brian David Marshall, and it is time for the quarterfinals. We're zooming in there on the match between Anton Jonsson and Masashiro Kuroda. Clearly the two headliners of this top 8. They're going to get a look at Anton Jonsson. He is not looking super confident right now. What do you think of his chances in this match, Brian?
I thought in the draft that Anton had the edge, but once I looked at Kuroda's deck, it was clear that the edge belonged to Kuroda, and I think Anton believes that also.
Yeah.
Double Diviner, double Rift Walker.
There's Kuroda.
Change of hands.
Kuroda drafted to win this match. He said, to win the Pro Tour, I have to win the quarterfinals. So, triple Mountain Walker in the main deck, the Rift Walkers against the Spirits. He's got a bunch of Indomitable Wills that he think he can use to foil Jonsson's red removal. And Jonsson also had to take a mulligan here, so it'll be interesting. And we got to talk a little bit about Masashiro Kuroda, by the way. This guy is the only Japanese player to ever win a Pro Tour. They keep putting up top 8s, but he's the one who actually got the deal done. And he did it in Kobe. The last time the Pro Tour was in Japan, this guy won. Since then, he never leaves the country of Japan. He hasn't played a Pro Tour since Kobe. This is actually his next Pro Tour. He could go back-to-back Japanese Pro Tours, which for him is just back-to-back.
Right. He's a fantastic player. He's highly regarded. Oh, there's a Rift Walker.
Oh, Rift Walker comes down. They've gotten to turn 3. What was the turn 2 creature from Kuroda?
The turn 2 creature was Kami of Ancient Law.
So 2/2, and then the Protection from Spirits guy.
It's interesting to note there are no Yamabushi Storms for Anton Jonsson.
Yeah, Mahler got the one in his board. That's
which
about
are
it.
Those are the one answer Blue Red usually has. Although he does have a Yamabushi's Flame. He does have the Yamabushi Flame, but he doesn't have Yamabushi Storm, which will deal with those early.
So Kuroda, the great Japanese hero, the one Pro Tour champion, if he goes back-to-back, it's going to be insane. I mean, that's just unprecedented.
If he goes back-to-back, we have to just put him in a steamer trunk and take him to Philadelphia.
Or Atlanta first, right? He just won a team Grand Prix, right?
He's not going to Atlanta.
The last Grand Prix, he was on the winning team, and then he gave his seat on the team to Masashi Oiso. He doesn't leave the country, so he's just, Oiso, you have my team. Crazy.
Soratami Miragard's getting...
Oh my God. Oh, Kuroda sent the Rift Walker in. Jonsson was willing to trade a Miragard. 2 Indomitable Wills. All of a sudden, that is a 4/6 protection from Spirit Creature.
That's unkillable.
And look at Anton Jonsson. What does he do? That was... Wow.
He has to double Yamabushi's Flame that.
Oh, look at Kuroda. He's calm now, but look at those eyes. Oh, he knows what he just did. And did you see how quick he windmilled it? I'm not sure I've seen a Japanese player windmill the way Kuroda windmilled those two wills.
He has the most flair of any Japanese player. When I talked to him yesterday during the final draft, I asked him, true or false, you drafted the best deck at your pod. And very uncharacteristically of the Japanese players, he said, true. And I believe, and given an opportunity to answer a question like that, he's the first Japanese player I've ever encountered.
Wow.
Who put that response out
Turn
there.
5 Soul of Magma from Anton Jonsson. He cannot feel good about his chances in this game. You know, Kuroda, he's
on a 5-turn clock here.
He's got flair, too. He speaks very good English, which is interesting and a little bit unusual for a Japanese player. It's definitely a sense of flair and style to this guy.
Even more importantly, he has a good relationship with players outside of Japan.
Yeah?
He has a great relationship with the Ruels. A lot of players like him. So that's been a big
Olivier
influence.
Ruel stayed at his house for a couple weeks, right, after the Grand Prix?
Absolutely.
So yeah, invited in French player Olivier Ruel for the Grand Prix. Kuroda wins the Grand Prix. Ruel did not. Did he before?
Yeah, Ruel did not do very well.
Wow. All right, so Kuroda sent his men into the red zone. Jonsson
look at him slamming those guys down.
Wow. Jonsson traded the Soul of Magma for the Kami of Ancient Law, but Kuroda just slams 2 more creatures onto the board. Very aggressive here.
He's the Ichiro Suzuki of Magic.
You think?
Oh, he looks like such a villain when he plays. I love it. That's one of the things I like about Suzuki. He just always looks very sinister when he's playing.
It's just Ichiro. I'm from Seattle.
I'm sorry.
I barely know the guy's last name. It's just Ichiro.
So, what did you just get an Earth Shaker? What is that from Anton? I can't see the tabletop.
Yeah, it's Earthshaker.
Take it.
And Kuroda sends in the Moth Rider Samurai, sends in the giant Riftwalker.
There's another
plays
Moth
another
Rider.
Moth. Wow, and he's still got the Diviner sitting there to tap down Earthshaker.
I think we've got game 1 locked up pretty much already.
Wow,
Yeah, there it
look
goes.
at it. Look how quickly he picks his cards up. Mission accomplished, and he knows it. He is full of confidence. He had a plan. He executed his plan. He's playing against Anton Jonsson. We've been talking about Kuroda, but Anton Jonsson is probably the best player in this top 8, right?
Anton Jonsson was my pick to win this Pro Tour coming into the event.
So even before he made top 8.
Yes.
And Jonsson reeled off 9 wins in a row before anybody even took a match off of him. So he had a spectacular start to this Pro Tour. A lot of respect as a limited player, but you know what? Masahiro Kuroda might be the best player in this top 8. The guy's only played 4 Pro Tours.
It would also put him into very elite status if he could win a limited Pro Tour and
a constructed Pro Tour. How many people have done that? John and Kai?
John and Kai are probably the 2. I don't actually have.
Hovey did it. Hovies are split.
It's been a long time ago. Those barely count.
Yeah, no, that.
So I'm looking in Anton Jonsson's deck list. I'm seeing if he has anything in his sideboard that he might want to bring in here to maybe speed up his deck. Does he want to go with Aki Avalanchers and Aki Rocksmaker to try to get out ahead of Kuroda's deck, or Izozu the Punisher maybe?
Anton is not happy.
And can we get a word from John on what he might be sideboarding there?
Yeah, John Becker, our intrepid sideline reporter, is down on the floor, can fetch us information from the guys.
Hey, John.
Anton, I don't know, how is this? I don't know what he's supposed to do.
This isn't even fair. He's got 4 of those Indomitable Wills, so I think we're going to be seeing more games pretty much playing exactly like that. Yeah, Anton could bring in Thoughtbinds. He was siding in Thoughtbinds this weekend pretty heavily. I don't know, did he side in any cards?
Look at Kuroda's body language. Just the sit up. He's got that Ben Rubin thing where he's like moving over the table to sort of play this territory battle. This is my table. This is my country.
He plays with a predatory flair.
Oh, I like that predatory flair.
You can use that for the wrap up.
That's pretty good. Meanwhile, on the message boards, I see Ninja X saying "Go Kuroda" with his hate strategy. They like the commercials too. Those commercials are fun. I'm catching my breath from the game 1. I gotta look at this. Yeah, isn't it an interesting debate whether to make the deck just for the quarterfinals or not?
If you can't win, if you don't win your quarterfinal match, it's impossible for you to win.
You can't win without winning the quarters. It's very true.
It's a very simple assumption that you start with.
But what are your odds of winning the tournament when you draft for that round?
What's the difference in prize pad if you just win your quarterfinals as opposed to losing your quarterfinals? I mean, there are some people who they're just like, well, I just want to win one round and get this much more money. What's the difference?
Like $5,000 something
Yeah,
or so?
it's
About $5. I mean, it depends.
multiple thousands of dollar difference.
Yeah, it's probably $5,000 from the quarterfinal match.
You know,
Maybe it's only 3 or 4, but.
right. I mean,
Yeah,
people-
it's $30,000 for first. It's $20,000 for second. Then it's like 15, 13, I think, for third, fourth. And then the quarterfinals is something, like 8, 9, 7, 6, something like that.
Right. So you're talking about $5,000.
Message board seems to agree with Karsten so far as our pick to win it all. Oh, Anton Jonsson has some supporters. Gabo boy.
Yeah, Anton wins by luck, though.
Yeah, Jonsson has some supporters, but
I think if Jonsson can get past this match somehow, then he would obviously be a favorite to win. But I don't see him coming out of this.
Yeah, Geek for Greek is with your logic. Kuroda wins so much money in the quarters that it makes sense to draft his strategy. The 2 indomitable wills, yeah. That was
Windmill
a
slam.
windmill slam.
Kuroda's my hero forever also.
Kuroda did not take it. Did he take a point of damage?
No,
he did not, right?
He beat that round with the perfect.
Nice. All right. Got our breath caught. Anton maybe has recovered his composure a little bit.
Look at the difference in demeanor between the two players.
Well, Anton Jonsson's never happy. Right? Have you ever seen that man happy?
No, I've never seen him happy. I was
I
talking to him.
think he would smile if he won the Pro Tour.
I was talking to him on the train ride over here, and I was asking him about his. He always seems anguished about every play, and I asked him if he was about what was going on. Is he trying to figure out some way to win? And he said, "I'm never really trying to figure out a way to win as much as I'm trying to figure out a way not to lose."
It's weird, like especially once people identify you as one of the top players in the game. It's worse to lose than it is good to win. Like you really are. You just don't want to lose. Losing is more important than winning in a weird way.
It's also very scary to make difficult decisions because you're going to be scrutinized.
Yeah.
People say you're the best player, but you made this play versus this play.
Right.
And also you understand the game on a different level, so people think you've made the wrong play, but you've made an amazing play. Out of the gate with the diviner.
There's the diviner.
Which taps just about everything in Anton's deck other than the 3-1 flyer.
These are best 3 out of 5.
And the Cloud Skip.
There you go. These are best 3 out of 5 matchups, so still got some room for Jonsson to make a comeback, but Kuroda is up a game.
Cloud Skitter also help him dig through his deck and find some answers. Is Kuroda scuffling for land here? It looks like Kuroda might not have a third land in his hand. Anton just cast Reach Through Mists, possibly for his third land.
Yeah, main phase reach is a little... makes you wonder. And is that an Avalancher?
He did side in the Aki Avalancher.
Also not a spirit.
Yep. Yeah, he has to lower his curve and he has to come up
dealt
with
his first point of damage to Kuroda, so...
No perfect in this game.
Oh, no Riftwalker for Kuroda. Turn 3, he just says go.
I think he is holding a couple of Indomitable Wells, though. So
he has 4.
If he attacks into the...
Do you attack with Avalancher?
I think you want to get that Diviner off the table. He could sack a land.
Yeah, sack a land. That's reasonable, right? You trade 2 cards for 2 cards. Yeah, I think you totally attack into it. The Indomitable Will's not that scary. Now, if you're Kuroda...
Do you block?
I think so. I think I would. Because you make Jonsson sack a land. It slows down his development a little bit. All right, so Deceiver comes down.
Hey, Antonio.
Yeah, they actually they have us in sort of a fishbowl tank here at the Pro Tour. There's a window where everybody in the crowd can sort of look over and see us doing the commentary. So people come up and make funny faces at us from time to time. Kabuto Moth from Kuroda. Presumably just came off the top. Turn 4 is normally the Moth Rider Samurai turn. Hopefully the Moth comes on turn 3.
Camera angle on Anton's hand. I guess we're not.
We're not supposed to look at the hands.
No, but I like to look at the hand.
It's funny you should mention that, actually. We are going to try an experiment at Pro Tour Atlanta coming up the next Pro Tour where we show the players' hands on camera. The reason we don't show them normally is because the players are in the same room as the crowd, so we don't want to give the crowd any hidden information that would affect the match. So in Atlanta, we're going to try sequestering the players. We're going to take them away from the crowd, but then show their hands, and I think it's going to be more fun. I think it's like the crowd really gets into it sometimes, especially when they can scream and yell and the players aren't there, so there's no danger of hidden information getting revealed, and the crowd tends to get really into it. That should be a fun show.
I remember on the boat there we would Pro Tour LA.
Yeah.
You used to be able to see
Yeah, back
the
in the
players'
day,
hands,
this is how we used to do it.
But no matter how far away you got the players, the roar from the crowd would
Every once in a
somehow
while.
waft its way.
Every once in a while, but I mean,
I assume that soundproofing technology has come along since then.
I mean, the occasional roar doesn't really tell you that much. It's just, you just want to make sure people can't just yell out what a card is and, change the results of the Pro Tour.
The roar off the top of the deck sometimes can tell you.
If you think about it, though, like, what are the Pro Tour top 8 matches that people talk about, right? I was there when, Long beat Lindy, or I was there when, Brian Davis versus Bob Maher, right? That match was that experience, just being in that crowd while Brian Davis threw that match away to Bob Maher. It was awesome. I mean, it was a lot of fun.
I actually wasn't there for that.
You missed that one?
I missed that one, and that actually is a regret of my Magic career that
sure.
I wasn't there for
it
that.
was insane. It was an amazing experience.
Teller of Tails.
Since then, yeah, that's pretty good. Teller of Tails comes down for Anton Jonsson. It was just more fun, right? So we're going to try in Atlanta. We're going to see if we can go back to that. And we're going to sequester the players again and see how that goes. We may switch that. I think it'll make the webcast more compelling, too, because you get to see what cards these guys are holding. You get to sort of put yourself in their shoes and understand what strategies they're doing. That should make the whole thing more interesting.
I think seeing what these guys are thinking is going to be very illuminating for the massive Magic players. So
yeah.
These guys actually do play the game on a very different level than you experience at Friday Night Magic. I know everyone. It's easy to think that everyone's just sort of playing the same game, but these guys really they play the game so well. It's just a real pleasure to watch. Anton specifically and Kuroda specifically. I've had a great time watching them all weekend.
Yeah, I remember when I was just getting good at the game, the thing to do was to watch the good players play and try to understand why did he do the thing that he do. Why, imagine what you would have done, watch what they do, and when it's different, there's always a reason, so you got to figure that out. Meanwhile, here in Game 2, both players are lining up creatures on their side of the board. It's a Cloud Skater, Aki Avalancher, Brutal Deceiver, and a Teller of Tails for Anton Jonsson, squaring off against a Diviner, a Kabuto Moth, a Moth Rider Samurai, and what's the red creature?
The red creature is Hearth Kami.
And a Hearth Kami for Masashiro Kuroda.
The longer this game goes, I think it's got to favor Kuroda with 3 Mountain Walkers in his deck.
Yeah, he's got 3 Sokazen Bruisers in his deck. And he's got a Kabuto Moth, so he can protect them from a Yamabushi's Flame, which is really Jonsson's only answer,
and
right?
he even has backup for the Kabuto Moth, and again, with the Indomitable
He's got the 4 Indomitable Wills.
You somehow trick or bait the player into using the Moth, and he still has the Indomitable Will as backup, so...
Yeah, Kuroda just masterminded this matchup, right? He can win aggressively with Riftwalkers. He can win the long game with the Bruisers. It's just really set up. I'm not sure. I mean, Jonsson's deck looks good. It's got a lot of good cards in it, so I certainly wouldn't write him off, but I really think Kuroda has managed to take a lower quality selection of cards and piece together a deck that gives him a very good chance to win this match.
Anton's deck has got to be good if he says it's okay.
Fair.
He didn't like a single deck he had during his 9-0 run. He said, every time I would go up to him, he's like, you can't tell me this is a good deck.
Yeah, Anton told me before this match, this is the kind of blue-red that he likes because it's more aggressive. Like, he had a lot of decks over the weekend. I mean, well, obviously Double Glacial Ray is awesome. He'd rather have that. But sort of all the, you get all the Read-Through Mist, or all the Dampened Thought tools, and you're kind of playing this slow controller's game. That's not the way he likes to play it. He'd rather have a bunch of good flyers and Houndmasters and come out aggressively with some removal to back it up, and that's what he's got here.
He started out his weekend with looked like a Dampened Thoughts deck, and he had to win his matches with the Reverse the Sands.
Yeah,
in fact, both of these players won matches with Reverse the Sands this weekend.
Mirror Guard comes down for Anton.
Now that's going to be a very good card for him.
Kuroda taps the Teller of Tails with Diviner.
He can start eating his lands and returning them.
Yeah, returning his lands, get some unblockable damage through. It's like Jonsson's deck is supposed to be aggressive, but here we are, the second game in a row where Kuroda has just stopped the attacks immediately. Kuroda's deck is very good at neutralizing Jonsson's aggressiveness. And then with 3 Bruisers and 4 Indomitable Wills, I think inevitability is on Kuroda's side.
Inevitability is definitely a great word. The longer this goes, the more cards he sees, the worse this gets for Anton, because he just doesn't have the answers to deal with this deck. Whose turn is this right now?
An update on another match. Shu Komura has taken game 1 from Vasilis Fatoros. So
That seems to go pretty much as expected. We're expecting Shu to take that match pretty handily.
can't hear you. Sure.
Anton's returning a land to draw a card. Anton's side of the board is capable of just getting rid of all his lands. He can return them to draw cards. He can return them to make things unblockable. He can eat them to Zaki Avalancher.
Nope. Can we go to report on John on the floor?
Yes, give us just a second here.
Sorry, let me.
Okay, John, you want to queue up with your mic? And we're going to go to live reporter.
All right, we'll try to get a report from Becker down there on the floor about what's going on in the other matches. So,
Stand by. And
so John, what's going on down there?
Go ahead, John.
Hi, it's Jonathan Becker. I'm just wanting to give you an update on the other matches that aren't on camera right now. Shu just managed to take a game off Vasily. Very close game. It was 3 life to 2 life when Vasily scooped him up to a flyer, which he wasn't going to be able to deal with. It was a close match involving a devouring greed that almost took Shu out, but he managed to squeeze it out at the last moment.
Wow.
Also on the Terry Frank Carson matchup, it looked like Terry was putting pretty good pressure on Frank, and Frank was kind of struggling to stay on the board, but he resolved the white Myosian. It looks like maybe he seized control of that match.
Oh, wow.
On the back table, Murray, the Mauler's hanging on at 2 life with a very, very good board of Blue Honden, Gohei, and an active Grave Robber.
Okay.
Against a Suzuki with a Snakeskin and a Moss Kami with gaining 2 life a turn, but he seems unwilling to give up. He hasn't been able to activate that Grave Robber very much, but he's been throwing something out there every turn to try to jump block Suzuki. But I think he might just be getting overwhelmed.
Okay, so Evans is at 2, holding on for dear life.
That's right, and I think that Harkonnen's at about 25.
All right.
And gaining 2 a turn.
Gaining 2 a turn, yeah.
All right, so Harkonnen looking good. Evans is back against the wall. Meanwhile, Terry So came out fast. We said that's what he needs if he's going to win, but if Carson got up to white Myosian, that should be good for the Dutch player.
Petals of Insight for Anton Jonsson here. He's drawn 3 cards.
Okay, Jonsson's got a little deck flow going on, right? He's got the Cloud Skater, he's got the Petals. I don't know if Kuroda has Forever. I mean, Jonsson's just going through his deck faster. If he comes up with just more spells, maybe.
He definitely has the edge on him. Do we have a Riftwalker in play also now? On the lower part of Kuroda's board?
Yeah, that's a Riftwalker. I mean, there's an Avalanche on the other side, right?
Right, and the 3/1 flyer should have come to that. Kuroda doesn't look as confident this game, does he?
No, he really doesn't.
So
that's an interesting thing I've noticed change about Japanese Magic in recent years. It used to be back in the day that you could just read the cards that were in their hands off their forehead, and they really were not particularly good at keeping quiet and keeping calm, and they didn't have very good poker faces, for lack of a better term. I think they've gotten a lot better about that lately. I mean, you see Kuroda, he's not really betraying much. He's maybe not quite as confident as last game, but there's a bunch of aspects of Japanese Magic like that. They've just, in the last couple of years, they've just gotten a lot better at playing the game of Magic. So it's interesting, and it's more than just.
Ishida is the leader in the poker face movement of Japanese Magic.
That's fair.
Here comes a Hearth Kami.
Interesting. So Hearth Kami attacks. Now Shu Kimura takes a mulligan in game 2. So Anton just looking, saying, "All right, what's he up to? How many Indomitable Wills does he have? What am I supposed to block with? What's your play if you're Anton?"
I might just take 2 here.
Really?
Well, what's he gonna block with? He's got them off. Is he gonna trade Teller of Tales? He doesn't want to trade his card drawer. I don't think he wants to trade. He might trade the Avalanche. He doesn't even trade the Avalancher. He's gonna a land in the Avalancher for.
Land Avalancher's not crazy.
Is it really very good for Hearth Kami? And then if he has Indomitable Will, I think he might just take 2.
Interesting.
I mean, we'll be here a while. Anton's gonna think about everything. He peeks. Oh, he's got the first striking Brutal Deceiver potentially, although he doesn't have the mana to activate it. He just looks at his next card to see what's going to happen. Now that Kuroda's made a decision, he looks a little more confident again. All right. Yeah, and Anton will think about every single card that he saw Kuroda draft.
Is that what's going on right now?
I think that's what's going on right now.
Interesting.
He just looked at the top card of his deck. He's looking at the untapped mana. He's gonna examine every possibility here. I think ultimately he's going to decide to take 2. I mean, Kuroda's certainly not going to use his Moth to sneak in an extra point of damage. Someone wrote, Anton would never be happy if he had to consider siding in Aki Avalancher. Oh, Aki Avalancher.
All right, Avalancher steps in.
He ate a land before damage went on the stack. So that's a 3-1 Avalanche right now in the way of the Hearth Kami.
Right, so Kuroda's got the Moth. That's not enough. This would be a trade currently. Oh, okay, and he's content to trade.
Okay, 2 for 1.
All right.
Cool. Meanwhile, let's go down to John Becker and find out. He said there was apparently a pretty cool finish on the Frank Karsten match. What happened?
Yeah, Carson looked like he had the totally locked down with that Myosian with the counter on Raider Wrath away, but didn't stop Terry So from Hanabi blasting the dome 5 times in a row.
Wow!
Taking from 10 to 0, never discarding the Hanabi blast.
Wow! How many cards did he have in his hand?
I don't think he had a lot. How many cards? He started with 6 and went slowly
cards
down. So I guess he should have. I guess that's about right. Get 6 cards, 1 in 5, hit it 5 times. So a little luck on Terry So's side there.
5 Hanabi blasts to Frank Karsten's dome, and
certainly bad.
Terry So takes game 1.
That's a serious Magic Online skill, is the Hanabi blast retention.
Thanks, Jonathan.
All right, take care.
That would be a major upset there, I think.
Yeah, it would be.
Although I think Terry So's a terrific player.
Absolutely.
I've watched him at a number of Asian Grand Prix.
He hasn't played that many. How many Pro Tours has he played? We've got these info sheets. He was top 8 at Worlds. I mean, he's relatively new to the scene,
only
right?
Played in 2 or 3 Pro Tours.
Wow.
He has a couple of Grand Prix top 8s. But he's definitely a well-regarded player in this part.
He says number of times playing on Pro Tour 1. I think he played 1 Pro Tour, 1 Worlds, and now, yeah, that's pretty impressive. 2 top 8s in his first couple Pro Tours. 3 Grand Prix top 8s, as you pointed out. And this is a Malaysian player. He has no local network. He's totally a product of the internet.
Yes.
I talked to him. He said he drafts 3 or 4 times a day. Like every day, 3 or 4 drafts every single day. He's just turned himself into a spectacular Magic player, even without really much of a local support network.
If he wants to play Magic with good players in person, he has to go to a Grand Prix.
Wow.
Or the Pro Tour now.
Yeah, apparently.
He's going to be qualified for a little while.
I saw a lot of the Japanese players talking to him. I think he's making a lot of friends. A lot of friends this weekend. A lot of people he can play with and against in years to come.
What's happening at this point? This is Anton's turn.
Checking out with Brutal Deceiver. It makes it unblockable. All right, so Mirror Guard makes the Brutal Deceiver unblockable. Yeah. Kuroda said, "Did you play a land already?" Apparently the answer is yes. What's he thinking about? Oh, okay. Oh, so Kabuto Moth makes the... That was a cute play. So Kuroda attempted to use the Mirror Guard to make the Brutal Deceiver unblockable, but the Mirror Guard's ability only works on a creature with 2 power or less. So Kuroda said, all right, I'll use my Kabuto Moth to make your Deceiver into a 3/4. Pretty cute play, and then
he may also
effectively fizzles the Mirror Guard's ability.
He may also be trying to bait out a Yamabushi's Flame here, if he has Indomitable Will in hand.
Oh, that'd be tech. Anton shakes his head and just passes the turn.
I wonder if Anton was expecting that to happen or not when he was running through all his calculations. I think we might be in for a what started out as a very, very fast game 1 is settling into a Humphreys speed game 2.
Yeah, Dave Humphreys, legendary for the slow pace of play. He tried to come to this Pro Tour. He actually showed up at the airport and had a flight problem. They apparently messed up his credit card number or something, never actually sold him the ticket. They were like, same day flight to Japan, we need $1,600. And he was like, but I need to be in Japan, but... So Humphreys missed this Pro Tour. That actually ends a really impressive streak. He'd won money at something ridiculous like 12 of the last 14 Pro Tours or something. Quite a streak. He's always in the money.
He hasn't made a top 8 in a while, but he continues to do well. It's something that Frank Karsten is a player who.
Oh, interesting.
Do well.
So Anton Jonsson tried to play Mystic Restraints on Kuroda's Kabuto Moth, but Blessed Breath shut that down.
Right. We talked about Frank Karsten as someone who continually making money on the Pro Tour, doing very well, but was kind of invisible to the players at large because he just doesn't play on Sunday.
Right.
And Dave Humphries has been largely invisible. It's easy to,
Forget about him. It seems like he's over the hill. It's like, no, he just keeps winning.
Right.
Just hasn't quite gotten the couple of breaks you need to get to Sunday.
Right. And he had a top 8 at Worlds, two Pro Tour seasons ago. I mean, that's a pretty recent top 8. And it's very difficult to make the top 8. It's not just a matter of being good. You also have to get somewhat lucky. I mean, you have
to not get unlucky. I think is how I would say it.
Right. We don't want to certainly make it sound like there's not skill involved.
Right. You put yourself in position, and then hope things have to
break your way. Tiebreakers.
The Mauler is still playing that game back there on that back table. He's still hanging on.
Yarno's got to be at like 60 by now.
Because he's gaining ground, apparently.
Murray likes to play the long control games.
Interesting.
Speaking of long control games.
Yeah, speaking of long control games, exactly. Kuroda and Jonsson has settled down for not a lot of headway here. I mean, that mirror guard can't get much accomplished because of the Kabuto Moth. But meanwhile, Kuroda is just trying to draw into a Mountain Walker.
2 cards, or?
How much land does Kuroda have in play? He might be waiting until he can get to 7 so that he can defend it.
That's true.
He's got 7? Oh, so if he's got 7, he can play Bruiser with Indomitable Will backup.
He's also got an active Moth. So I think if he had it, he might just play it out there.
So he might just 3 in his deck. He
has no manipulation of his deck whatsoever. When he's red-white, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
So he's just playing the waiting game. While Anton can keep digging and drawing cards with his Cloud Skater. Anton has very, very little land left in play already. He's down to 4 lands to Kuroda 7.
Yeah, he sacked 1 to the Avalancher. He's been using the Mirror Guard. He's been using the Cloud Skater.
What do we think Anton's looking for right here? I guess he's looking for Yamabushi's Flames and plenty of them, is my guess. Kami of Fire's Roar. That's not going to do very much against the Riftwalker, although I guess it'll let him get through the Samurai.
Do we want to move over to Carson versus Sun? This is pretty bongo.
These guys are just playing draw go right now.
Bruce, can we move over to Carson versus Sun? Yeah, give me just
I like it. I get an instant message from Scott Larrabee down on the floor. We're talking about Pro Tour moments you remember being at. Threw in Bueller versus Mills.
That's another Pro Tour I missed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I had a store to run. Anton's down to 3 lands now.
Can I see you look over there?
He's working in reverse, developing his mana base. I think we might be switching over here. The camera's sort of wandering over towards Karsten and Terry So. We're drifting in that direction. Well, the camera that I'm looking at.
Yeah, we're going to, this game's a little bogged down, so we may try to do some live check-ins on some of the other matches, and we'll definitely keep you updated about what's going on here, but see if we can get maybe a little more exciting match on camera. Kuroda does finally seem to be taking the offensive. So he attacks with Moth Rider Samurai.
No, the Moth Rider Samurai.
Oh, that was tapped by Teller.
The Moth Rider was tapped by Teller.
Okay.
The Kabuto Moth is also being tapped.
Yeah, so they are